All right, we are kicking things off here in the Bigmits block battle constructed open. We are watching Akris battle Murtkin. Now, Akris is on a kind of Witherbloom Golgari list, and I believe Murtkin is on a Boros aggro list. And we're, of course, working through technical difficulties here. We'd love to get kind of a dual stream going, but wasn't able to get that working in the short time frame here. But it does look like Akris is taking a mulligan, deciding what to send back. They have Dina, Witherbloom Command, and they Beladros Witherbloom down the road. But it looks like they're going to start out with the... okay, so Murtkin's going first, but then we see Akris throw down a Snarl of their own. They're going to reveal a forest, it looks like, to keep that Snarl from entering tapped, so it's untapped. Now we'll see what Murtkin does with their 2 mana. They do have that Mountain Island, Mountain Plains card. That's a snowland, but they throw down Plarg. All right, Akris is going to throw down Dina as a counterplay, can block Plarg for now, and they are going to try to get their creatures rocking and rolling, hold up their defense, try to gain some life, and tick down their opponent. Now, Plarg is attacking here. Akris opts not to block, fearing a combat trick perhaps, but it does appear that Murtkin is going to play Spellbinder, and they're going to get to look into Akris's hand and tax something, make something go into exile and have to pay 2 more to actually cast that card. So this is going to be interesting what they choose. Blood Researcher, maybe, Witherbloom Command right now doesn't really have a great target, although I guess the Spellbinder is now a good target, because you can +3 minus, or I guess -3 -1 it, right? Okay, that's what looks like Akris is going to do. They're going to use the Witherbloom Command to take down the Elite Spellbinder, and okay, they're going to gain some life as well with the alternate trigger. And that effect is also going to trigger Dina, so it's going to be +3 -3 in terms of life gain, life loss there. So Murtkin, though, I know they're running, I think, some Showdown of the Scalds, so that could be a nice turn 4 play for them. Though, okay, they're going to run out a Venerable War Singer. So it's Vigilance, Trample, and if you hit someone, I believe you get to bring back something from your graveyard, a creature with CMC equal to or less than the number of damage you just dealt. Okay, so both players stuck on 3 lands, though. Kind of awkward for both players. Akris is going to throw in a Witherbloom Apprentice, though. So they are going to have additional taxes and additional drain going on whenever they play instants or sorceries here. And that's going to be amplified as well by Dina. And it looks like, okay, there's some stream lag. We're working through some difficulties, right? It's the first time. Okay, Murtkin, though, thinking about attacking with the War Singer. He does attack. Okay, let's see if Akris blocks. And if they don't block, then they're going to be able to get back this Spellbinder right from the graveyard. And that's going to be annoying, no doubt, for Akris here. Okay, looks like that's quickly going to target. And I have to imagine it's going to happen. So yeah, we do see the Spellbinder recurred from the graveyard and now peeking again into Akris's hand. So we're going to see what they're going to tax this time. They end up taxing the Hunt for Specimens. So now both Hunt and Blood Researcher have been taxed, so they're more expensive. And if Akris doesn't draw another land here, they're going to be in some trouble, because they're not going to be cast anything. The board state of Murtkin is growing scarily. But we do see this, the Hunt for Specimens drawn again for Akris. So with that said, we'll see if Akris opts to loot here. Some stream lag. Okay, but they get Pest Summoning. Okay. I mean, I don't know how much life gain this Boros deck has, so just trying to drain out your opponent could be a worthwhile endeavor here. It could be the path to victory. Let's see if we can't switch up the streams here, switch up who we're following. And still trying to configure this stream here. We have switch sides, though. Okay, so we'll switch sides, see if Murtkin's any smoother on this end. Okay, but what have we missed? Well, we see Murtkin is going to attacks here, swinging in for 10 damage already. Or, sorry, 11 damage, excuse me. We see that Akris is now going to jump block the Venerable War Singer, although unfortunately the War Singer has Trample, so not going to do too much there, but they do buff Dina by sacrificing the Pest. This is looking tough for Akris. This opposing Boros mid-range beatdown deck is proven to be very powerful here, even on only 3 or now 4 mana, I suppose. We even see a Goldspan Dragon in hand for Murtkin, so things are looking good on their side. We do see the Witherbloom command, though, deployed for Akris, so going to be some life swing there. And okay, we sniped the Spellbinder again with that same card that took it down last time. But now we know that Murtkin has a Frostbite, so he can Frostbite, or they can Frostbite down Dina, and then they can just probably go wide, just swing in. And I think that's got to be lethal. I don't see how I don't see how Akris can recover from this shellacking here. All right, back in it. We are back in it. Okay, get back on here. So we're gonna see what Murtkin is working with. They appear to have a mono white hand here against Akris. So does have nice curve though. He can go Usher, and then he can boast with Usher, and then you can play a 3-drop, either Spellbinder or Redain, or you could foretell maybe Glorious Protector on turn 2. It's gonna be interesting to see if Akris can recover here. It's gonna be an uphill battle, it looks like, from this side. Okay, they throw down the Usher. Okay, gets on down there. Okay, they throw down Dina though. That's going to be a good block. So I imagine they don't want to throw away their Usher into Dina for no value. And that does appear to be the case. So now Akris on 3 mana, presumably. Again, we can't see the hand, but okay, we see a Snarl. They reveal a land, and they play a Blood Researcher. So that is going to be growing quickly, and I don't know that Murtkin is necessarily positioned to deal with it, right? One of the big ways that Mono White or this Boros Agrissa would deal with creatures would be either Bonecrusher Giant or a Skyclave Apparition, but neither of those are legal here. But okay, the Spellbinder is going to reveal Akris' hand for us. And we're going to see another copy of Dina, but then there's also an Eradicator Valkyrie. So that is a nice 4-drop that I'm sure Akris was hoping to deploy next turn. But it looks like it is going to be sniped by the Spellbinder, increasing the cost by 2. Yeah, I mean, I don't know why you wouldn't pick another Dina. Yeah, so that is what Murtkin opts to do. Now, Dina, or the Blood Researcher, does have a good attack here. They can swing in for 2, though it's not the most impactful. They actually opt not to attack, perhaps fearing a removal spell. Unclear the reasoning there, but maybe we'll find out. So Murtkin is kind of getting flooded out here. They've drawn a number of lands. They only have Redain left, but they do have a Faceless Haven in hand that they're probably going to throw down this turn. Yeah, they can start attacking with that. And they throw down Redain as well, which is going to tax the spells that are 4 CMC or greater for Akris, as long as Redain is on the battlefield. And we'll have to see what Akris has drawn here. Have they found a solution, an answer to any of these cards, any of these flyers that are proving so potent for Murtkin? We do see the Village Rites deployed for Akris, so they're going to sacrifice Dina to draw 2 cards, knowing that they have another Dina in hand, which they are going to quickly redeploy. Now they throw down another land, so now 3 mystery cards in Akris' hand. What could they be? Whatever they are, they don't seem to want to deploy them now, so they just pass the turn. I have a similar board state to last turn. Murtkin looks like they're trying to throw down a Plains, and they do, and then they animate the Faceless Haven. But did Akris draw a removal spell, or are they just waiting to pick off this Faceless Haven as it is on the battlefield? And then it looks like they use Eliminate to snipe the Faceless Haven, destroying it, and reducing the number of attackers by 1 this turn. They do still get 5 in the air at them, and they even have Usher the Fallen, a second one, to follow that up. Now, if Akris does draw land, and they do, they can actually play their Valkyrie. And we know that Murtkin doesn't have a good answer for it right now. This not only has lifelink and flying, it's got hexproof from Planeswalkers, which probably not particularly relevant, but still worth noting. It can also boast, and they can make players sacrifice things, though I don't know that that's the most impactful or most ideal thing to do in in a case like this where you have fewer creatures than your opponents, and your opponents are probably going to start making creatures off the Ushers of the Fallen sooner or later. So they we actually see another Eliminate thrown down. Oh, they go all in. Just with the Eradicator Valkyrie. They might have a combat trick. Got a buff and get rid of that Spellbinder. Let's see it. No, okay, they don't. Maybe they have an expensive spell they wanted to play instead. Something that they want to not have to pay the Redain tax on. Because you would think we just let Redain in, and then you just keep swinging for 4 in the air and going to town. But we'll see. Opponent, though, Murtkin, gets a Faceless Haven, a replacement for the one that they lost. Now, Akris is just throwing down land after land here. Unfortunate for them. Okay, now they are actually attacking with a Blood Researcher. And Murtkin is opting not to animate it and trade here. Now, both players are at 16 life, so things are kind of neck and neck, but this Faceless Haven is going to be tipping the race in Akris' favor. And what Murtkin could even do is all attack here and then double boast on his Ushers, but he doesn't do that, or they don't do that. And so then they just attack with the Faceless Haven, getting Akris down to 12 life. Now, what is Akris going to do here? They play another Blood Researcher. Okay, this is potentially scary, but last card was a land, so not too scary. We'll see if they keep the Blood Researcher back here, because they could double block the Faceless Haven, kind of get into like a board stall type situation. So, let's see. Okay, now we're going to see Murtkin probably try to tempt them with that trade by going for the Faceless Haven and then having the Blood Researchers double block there. So, without knowing, of course, that there's another Faceless Haven, the third Faceless Haven in this game is going to be coming down on Murtkin's side. And will Akris take the trade? Will they opt for it? To be determined. Okay, another land off the top for Akris. And they did take the trade. Okay, so you see now Murtkin again animating that land. Now, probably getting pretty tempting to just all attack here and then, like I said, double boast with those 2 Ushers to just overwhelm your opponent. So, I guess that does leave me potentially vulnerable to something like a Pest Summoning. But again, Murtkin is showing much restraint and not attacking with their Ushers. They are a more patient player than me, I suppose. We are going to see Akris that would look like they're going to double block the Haven. And now Murtkin is opting to kill Dina instead of the Blood Researcher. Oof! Beladros Witherbloom off of the top. You know, that is going to be something. That's some spice. That's what Akris needed to get back in this game to seal the deal here. We do see Murtkin, though, drawing Quakebringer. Now that is going to be making it so Blood Researcher can't get any counters, right? Because your opponents can't gain life, and it's going to be pinging Akris for 2 every turn. I don't know how many giants that Murtkin has in their deck, though, so I don't know how relevant the other part of it being in the graveyard and also, you know, shocking your opponent every turn. But just it turning off life gain is kind of a secret tech against Akris' Witherbloom deck here. Now you are going to still get a horde of chump blockers from Beladros, right? One of those pests every turn, and that will let probably Witherbloom attack. You're going to be getting just tons of blockers, so you can just chump your opponent all day. Though, you know, it's only 4 damage in the air, and that opponent, Murtkin, is at 16 life, so that's like a 3-turn clock now. And in response, or in return, you see that Akris is on more of a 6-turn clock because they're getting shocked every turn, and they have, you know, blockers for days. So Murtkin now drawing another Venerable Warsinger. It does have trample, so it is going to be able to get through the horde of 1/1 tokens that Witherbloom is making. But it looks like Akris is finally, they've had enough. They are going all attacks and just trying to get that value, trying to just go wide and try to win this race here. And we'll have to see what Akris decides to block. I have to imagine that they're going to send a pest on each of these creatures, though they might be fearful of their life total. It is important to note here, right, because this is a block constructed event, they don't have to worry about Embercleave, the Reaper of the Ladder, the menacing threat for any deck playing red. They don't have to worry about that, which is beneficial, no doubt. But they still could have combat tricks. You could have other ways that they could be pumping their creatures or giving them trample or something, some sort of nonsense. There's plenty of combat tricks in Boros. But okay, they're going to double block their the Quakebringer, or triple block it actually, to kill it, to turn back on the life gain. And I believe because the dying effects go on the stack afterward, Akris is going to gain a life from that. So they go back up to 11. And we do see the Venerable Warsinger thrown down from Murtkin. All right, so what is Akris going to do here? What have they drawn? A land! Nothing impactful, I'm afraid, though they still have jump blockers. A Venerable Warsinger can get back an Usher of the Fallen. I don't know that there's much else it can get back. I don't quite recall. But they are just going all attack. Murtkin is going all attack here. They're looking in their graveyard, seeing what they can grab. So I guess this game, I think, had Redain as well, right? And the Spellbinder, so they might be grabbing one of those two. Okay, Akris, though, is going to block the Usher and a token with their pests. So the one of the Ushers will die, and they're going to bring back... think about what to bring back. The Spellbinder, maybe for a flying blocker. So we do know that Murtkin right now, right, they have 5 damage on board. And Akris is at 7 life. And they're going to make a blocker at their untapped step, and I believe on Murtkin's untapped step. So you get 2 more blockers. This race is still neck and neck, and we didn't even, I guess, have countered in the life gain from those dying pest tokens. So Akris is actually up at 9 life, making it even harder for Murtkin to race. And Murtkin, or rather Akris, does get another blocker here. They get Witherbloom Apprentice down on the board. And they are going to be attacking here. They attack for 4. Putting Murtkin at 4 with the Redain as a blocker. They find another Usher of the Fallen in their draw step. So let's see what they choose to do here. Redain, of course, is a free attack because it is vigilance, because it is flying. There's no reason you wouldn't here. Now, if they attack with the Warsinger, they can get back, I guess, probably the Spellbinder to give it another flying blocker to buy some more time. But they do risk Akris triple blocking the Warsinger just to take it down. Or I guess double blocking, and then they block over there, block one of the tokens with their pest. Now, blockers have been assigned, damage has been dealt, leaving Akris going to be up at 8 still versus the Murtkin at 4. Now, that's just Redain, and Usher, and a token versus Beledros Witherbloom and a host of lands from Akris. Okay, so they jump block Witherbloom, Lorehold Command. Now that could buy them back. That could be what they need here. Okay, so can this seal the deal? They can make a token. They can give their creatures +1 indestructible. Unfortunately, they can't kill Witherbloom with the 3 damage. They could also sacrifice a permanent to draw some cards. A lot of decisions here to make for Murtkin, so we're gonna have to see what they choose to do. Looks like they're gonna go for the damage mode and the drawing card mode. They're gonna ping Witherbloom and hope that they draw another damage spell. They're going for it. They are going for it. They're gonna sack one of their lands to draw some cards, and they do. They find a Frostbite off the top, allowing them to kill Witherbloom in a very lucky top deck. And we have to see here what they're gonna choose to do with their attacks. They can't still attack with Usher and get it to boast to make another token. And now we're more or less going to be back into top deck mode here for both players as we see what's going on in this round, or this game 2 of round 1 of the Bigmits open block constructed championship. Try to get that out of my mouth here. Binding of the Old Gods on the token. So both players, top deck mode. Binding is going to get Akris another forest, so thinning their deck a little bit if they have any forests left. I mean, they've got to be, well, I guess they probably have 22 lands, so they're not close to that yet. Murtkin does find another Frostbite. Okay, so Binding the Old Gods resolves, or rather ticks up to its final saga chapter and goes away. Akris throws down a Witherbloom Apprentice. Okay, but Murtkin drawing a Showdown of the Scalds. That's like top decking 4 cards, more or less. I can't imagine that Akris has any counter magic, and we don't see any, as we do see the Showdown resolve. And now Murtkin is getting a whole host of great cards. They get Halvar and Lorehold Command and a Frostbite. They can just like throw down Halvar and then play Frostbite or something, or they could even just like Lorehold Command. But it looks like they're just going to go for Halvar. Now, we can't see what Akris has, but it does seem like they have a stop, so they might have a removal spell. They're not doing anything with it yet, or not responding yet. Yeah, they don't cast anything. And what a turnaround. Looked like Akris had it in the bag, but then one Lorehold Command to turn things around. Okay, Akris is casting Crippling Fear. Interesting, because Halvar is in fact a 4/4 and not a 3/3. They choose God. That was not the way. That's okay. We all make mistakes sometimes. Happens to the best of us. I think I've messed up on Crippling Fear and on the Nexus of Fate out of Strict Save, and I've chose the wrong mode multiple times. So Murtkin, though, they are going to cast their Lorehold Command that was exiled in the Showdown of the Scalds, making a token, sacrificing a permanent, drawing some cards. They have now 3 Frostbites in their hand, and they have 2 Dragonkin Berserkers to follow them up with. And this is looking grim for Akris. Now, what Murtkin could get spicy. It looks like they're going to Frostbite, Halvar here to put a token on him, or put a counter on him. They could even do it again if they wanted, right? But they opt not to. I guess there's no reason not to, because you're going to lose the card from the Showdown next turn, so you wouldn't have a chance to cast the Frostbite if Akris were to play anything. Now, this is interesting. Murtkin is really committing to this board, and I don't know what Akris has in their deck. They have Binding. Okay, I was going to say if they have like a board wipe, they could have done it, but it does look like Murtkin is going to take it. So that is round 1, and I will see you back here in just a little bit. Okay, we are getting into round 2, where we have Nidethest. I'm going to update the text boxes real quick. We have Nidethest on the bottom here with an Orzhov aggro kind of Magecraft, and I believe we have J-Pel on the opposite with a similar Magecraft Orzhov deck. I was going to get this straight. Alright, so getting back into it though. Watching what is happening. So Nidethest has a Leonin Lightscribe, 4 cards left in hand, 2 Guiding Voices, Wings of the Cosmos. Now, J-Pel foretold something. Okay, so we do now see Nidethest running out Bloodsky Berserker, and they're going to cast Guiding Voice onto their Leonin Lightscribe using the Learn trigger to grab something from their sideboard. They have 4 options, it looks like, and I wonder what they're going to pick. They could just go for the Inkling Summoning. They get some more creatures on board, get more benefit from that Leonin Lightscribe. And it looks like that's what they're going to pick after they deal 4 damage to J-Pel. So we even see the Bloodsky Berserker trigger go on the stack too, because they played Guiding Voice after they played the Berserker. Now J-Pel, they have some catching up to do. They have some board to destroy, some things that they need to take care of, or they're going to start getting flattened here by our opposing Nidethest. So Nidethest, though, drawing Professor's Warning, so it can give a counter to something, or it can make something indestructible until end of turn. But more importantly, it is a 1 CMC spell, so it's very cheap. for the both Bloodsky Berserker and for Lean and Light Scribe. So, you know, you could probably play, or in fact, we know that they can play all 3 of their 1 CMC spells this turn if they so chose. Though we'll have to see if they choose to Guiding Voice before combat to get the extra 2 damage through, because it's going to buff their creatures, right? So it does look like they're going to choose that Guiding Voice trick, play it first, buff your creatures. Now we'll see if Japel has a response. Do they have an instant speed destroy effect to take down that Light Scribe and fizzle Guiding Voice? If they do, they aren't using it. Maybe they're going to go for a block here with the clever Lumomancer. Now, this is quite the start from Nightdust. Turn 4, they're already swinging for 9 here. And they're even going to Wings of the Cosmos to get the additional counters on the Bloodsky Berserker, give it Menace, and buff their team even more. Man. Japel is going to make your mark on Leon and Light Scribe. Are they going to just then destroy it? Iron Verdict. They'll try to. Oh no, but the Professor's Warning could be just what Nightdust wanted here. They're even going to get the additional trigger of the Light Scribe here. They get to put the counter on the Light Scribe, and they're going to buff their creatures even more. Man, brutal. And Japel is dead, I believe, on turn 4. That was incredible. Oh man, how brutal. Now we're going to see sideboarding from Nightdust here. Now, they seem to be taking out some of their, I think, Wings of the Cosmos. Looks like they got one of those. Thinking about what else to take out. Taking out some of the Guiding Voices. Maybe some of their slower, more interactable, they're less resilient plays in the face of what appears to be an opposing Orzhov tempo or removal type list. So thinking about sideboarding in game 2 or going into game 2, and they submit. Now, what are we going to see here from? I'll actually modify the stream here. This guy's at the side. Should be a little better now. I'm gonna go full screen, make the stream a bit better. I think that helped a little bit. There's still, I guess, a black border, but a little better. Okay, back in the action though. So both players just playing land after land, getting to turn 2. Now, Nightdust, interestingly, it seems like they either they just drew the Battlefield Raptor, or they set on the plate last turn, fearing perhaps some removal. Now they have a decision to make. They only have 2 creatures here. They could run out the Battlefield Raptor, or they could run out the Light Scribe. Looks like they're going to choose the Raptor first. Maybe try to bait out some removal from Japel. And Japel is going to Revitalize to gain 3 life and draw a card. Okay, so what is Japel going to do? Maybe they were desperate for a land. They're going to throw in a tap land, the Orzhov Snow tap land from Kaldheim, blanking on the name. Okay, they're going to Humiliate, though. They're going to get to see what Nightdust is working with, and without this Light Scribe, it's not going to be much. It's a hand of mostly removal. Show of Confidence is okay, but again, without more impactful or cheaper instance or removal or instant spells, right? It's not going to be all that great. Now, Nightdust does find Wings of the Cosmos. That is going to be another cheap instant to perhaps chain with the Show of Confidence, but the problem here is that Nightdust only has 1 white mana, so they can't actually go Wing of the Cosmos into Show of Confidence. They can only do one or the other right now. We do know that they have, plenty of removal, some eliminates in hand. Though if Japel throws down a 4-drop, they are going to be worthless. Japel appears not to want to do that right now, holding their cards close to their chest, waiting, as it were. Though we do see Ninth S find that second plane, so now they can go Wings of the Cosmos into Show of Confidence if they want, but that seems like putting all your eggs into the Battlefield Raptor's nest or basket, as it were. And we've already seen that there's Iron Verdict from JPEL, so perhaps Ninth S is fearing that same effect again. Though interestingly enough, I guess Wings of the Cosmos would effectively counter Iron Verdict, right? Because it would untap the creature, making the spell fizzle. Okay, we do see though JPEL going for the Lash of Malice on the Battlefield Raptor. Now we'll see if they use the Wings of the Cosmos. Okay, they are going to try to get around that, to untap it and make it live through the Lash of Malice. That becomes a what, a 4/3? Yes, till end of turn, of course, not permanently. But JPEL doesn't have any other effects, it seems, and Ninth S holds on to the Show of Confidence, opting not to use it. Again, probably trying to diversify the threats, not wanting to put all of his cards onto this one Raptor that is pretty weak. We already saw it is liable to just get lashed to death. And if you do know that JPEL has 4 cards in hand, they foretell something interesting. What could that be? What could that be? Okay, so Ninth S draws another land, getting a bit flooded out here. 6 mana for what appears to be a low to the ground Orzhov Magecraft style beatdown deck. We know it can beat down. We saw that last turn. That was like a turn 4 kill on the play. So this deck has some crazy curves, but this time doesn't appear like it's one of them. Now, JPEL is going to poison the cup to kill the Battlefield Raptor. Ninth S has no responses. We know that because both players actually have perfect information right now. Or I guess JPEL has perfect information right now because he knows what's in Ninth S's hand. Now we're going to see what JPEL chooses to scry here. Looks like they're going to keep 2 on top of their library, and we'll see here. Lash for Ninth S, so not what they needed. Not what they needed. All right, JPEL runs out a Clarion Spirit. They're going to try to start wading through this removal from Ninth S, it would have to seem like. And we do know that if JPEL casts another spell this turn, they are going to get a Spirit token, right? If they wait, though, if they don't cast 2 spells in one turn, they aren't going to get that token. And if they can get a Spirit token, that would be kind of a big deal because it could mean that they are now kind of winning the race. They are kind of on the upper hand, even if both players are kind of dirtling around right now. Okay, so JPEL is in fact going to cast Make Your Mark on the Clarion Spirit, not wanting to wait until end of combat, until maybe Ninth S would have gone for the removal spell. But on the other hand, he might have just waited until his turn because he has plenty of mana, not much to do with it. But regardless, JPEL does get a Spirit token out of the deal. Now, he has Ninth S is drawn a Guiding Voice. He could put the Guiding Voice token, could target the spell on the 1/1 Spirit token to get that learn trigger, and it looks like he looks like he's gonna do it. The madman, and then probably kill it with the Lash or an Eliminate. But this is a creative play, a spicy play. That's what I love to see here. And then if they Lash immediately, they're gonna fizzle the spell. Oh no. Could this be disaster? Oh, you hate to see it. You hate to see it. So if JPEL has a buff spell, it's interesting. Oh, JPEL, oh, beautiful. Village Rites sacks the Spirit to draw 2. And so both of the spells fizzle, the Guiding Voice and the Lash. That is interesting. And okay, we even see JPEL with a Humiliate. To add insult to injury here, they humiliate their opponent, and they throw down a Clever Lumimancer. Now, the one good thing for Ninth S is that JPEL's hand is looking sparse, right? Only 2 cards left, but the Clever Lumimancer is only a 0/1 without that. So JPEL drawing at least 1 land, and that I believe is the Silvercoal Sanctuary. So we'll be able to start doing some scrying. Now we're gonna see. It looks like okay. Nightthus, he has done it once, he's going to do it again. He's going to use his own buff spell to target an opponent's creature to get some ancillary value out of it, in this case drawing a card, as opposed to trying to learn from last time. Now it looks like they drew a Bloodsky Berserker, and they're thinking about running it out, it would seem. Trying to see if it's worth the risk of exposing it to maybe another Lash, because right now it doesn't have, it would just be a 1/1. They could cast a Show of Confidence, of course, to buff it twice, right? Because we get the counter from itself and then from the Show of Confidence, but they don't choose to do that, they choose to keep it in hand. J-Pel, on the other hand, is foretelling something and shipping the turn back, not casting any instants or sorceries, so no point in attacking with Clever Lumomancer. Nightthus drawing another land and just shipping the turn after they run out Bloodsky Berserker. Okay, they are going to scry. J-Pel's going to scry with their Silver Quill Campus. And it looks like Nightthus is thinking about Show of Confidencing. And they are going to do it. So they're going to get one counter, I believe, and the Bloodsky trigger. So they have a 4/4 on the battlefield. J-Pel is doing some scrying. They were going to put one on top. They liked what they saw. And what shall follow? J-Pel is going to make your mark on the Bloodsky Berserker, and they're going to hit it with removal. Okay, they will. They're going to hit it with a Poison the Cup. And of course, make your mark. Doesn't matter who owned the creature as long as that it died, and then J-Pel is going to get a 3/2 Spirit token once Poison the Cup resolves, because it has that additional scry effect. And then we see the Make Your Mark trigger that goes in the stack. Now Clever Lumomancer is swinging in here for 4. And okay, we see another Defiance Strike from Nightthus, and I mean this really seems to be the issue with the like Orzhov Magecraft type decks, right? It's like once you lose your initial good creatures, they often have a hard time coming back because they don't have much card draw. They really just rely on overwhelming your opponents with that first salvo of Magecraft and spells. But okay, we even see J-Pel with the Vanishing Verse, exiling Bloodsky Berserker. And looks like J-Pel is going to attack in here for 5. Okay, so we are going to game 3. Nightthus has had enough. We're going to see if they are able to come back here in game 3, take it home. So I have to imagine Nightthus is going to be on the play, J-Pel probably going to be on the draw, and we do see that. Nightthus does snap up the play. And they have a hand of only one creature, though, which is perilous against J-Pel's Izzet Tempo deck. They don't want to reveal any information about their hand, so Nightthus chooses to leave their Snarl into the battlefield tapped. Okay, Nightthus does draw a second creature here. They draw a Bloodsky Berserker, which does set up a really nice turn. Next turn, they can go Clarion Spirit into Guiding Voice and get both a Spirit token and also buff up the Bloodsky Berserker for that. So J-Pel throws down a land, and they're thinking about what to do. Thinking about killing off the Bloodsky Berserker. Okay, they don't do it. Now we'll see if they have a Lash of Malice already and waiting. It seems that they don't because they didn't have a stop there. Alright, Nightthus is going to Guiding Voice, put the counter onto the Bloodsky Berserker. And get that trigger, get that amazing turn that I was talking about. They get that to happen, they resolve it. So now Nightthus has 7 power on board to just their J-Pel's 0. So that is going to be, like I said, an uphill battle, a tricky thing to come back from. So it's going to start with some removal. They need to get that Clarion Spirit out of the way. J-Pel resolves another Clever Lumomancer. Now what could happen is that J-Pel could get some kind of gross turn with their own Show of Confidence and maybe 1 or 2 additional instants or sorceries, and then they could just like one-shot they could just one-shot Nidus. But they opt for a Humiliate here. And now, okay, they take the Show of Confidence, leaving the Inkling Summoning in hand, putting the counter onto the untapped, rather the Summoning Sick Clever Lumamancer. They're both untapped right now. And I imagine, yeah, we do see J-Pel attacking with their 2-3 Lumamancer. Nidus opts not to trade. They do top deck a land, so they are perilously close to running out of gas here. Flailing the card around a little bit for show, perhaps. You do see they're just going all attack here, getting in for 7 more damage, putting J-Pel to 9. Now J-Pel's got to start dealing with some of these threats, or they're going to be in deep trouble. They have 5 cards, though, so I imagine they have some removal with which they can hopefully start reversing this course here, turning the tide. But Nidus looks like they're in a strong position if things hold. Okay, getting back to the match here. Yet another Lumamancer. Now, Nidus did draw a Battlefield Raptor, which is a blocker, but J-Pel's hand, I wonder what's cooking in there, if anything. Nidus, though, is starting to smell, smell the danger that they might be in. A triple Lumamancer is definitely scary, especially, like I was saying, with Show of Confidence, with any other kind of buff, and J-Pel has 3 mana, so you can do a lot of damage with that. Though J-Pel is now going to 6, not going to be able to block, or I guess interact with those flyers. Nidus also opting to keep the Battlefield Raptor in hand. That's an interesting choice too. It's a risky choice, potentially, if J-Pel starts throwing out some removal here, taking on those Berserkers or those Clarion Spirits. But J-Pel's got to start making some action happen here. Okay, doesn't choose to attack here. What is going on in that hand? What is cooking? Okay, Nidus attacking for 3 again, though. Now will J-Pel block? You're going to Vanishing Verse the Bloodsky Berserker. Okay. Or 1 blocker. They're going to give something flying. Do they have one of those wings effects? Oh, they're Village Righting. Okay. Bold move. Go to 3. We'll see if Nidus throws down the Battlefield Raptor now. They choose not to. Wow. That's a bold move. That's a bold move, Nidus. Now, J-Pel, 6 cards in hand. They just drew 2 more cards, and they drew the card for the turn. So, there's gotta be something happening here, right? Right? Thinking happening. Okay, J-Pel is going for the attack here with both Lumamancers. Nidus might now be regretting the Battlefield Raptor not playing it. J-Pel, though, does cast Revitalize. They gain 3 life, draw a card. So they buff both of their Lumamancers for 2 each, right? So they get 5 damage in. They play a tap land. They're still at 6. Okay. So now Nidus is rewarded for not playing Battlefield Raptor. They play another Clarion Spirit. They play a Battlefield Raptor. They get now 2 Flying Spirit tokens. They are going to be able to cast, or rather block, both of these Lumancers next turn, guaranteed. And okay, they do attack with everything, with their spirits and with their Inkling Summoning. J-Pel down to 1. Can they recover from this? Nideth's board suddenly got a lot scarier. They have 4 mana. It might need a miracle. They do have another land though, so now JPL has 5 mana available. Now I wonder if they're running board wipes. Could they just throw down a Doomscar and clear this board of all this nonsense here? To be determined. So with the flavor of JPL's deck, I don't think so. And in fact, we can even determine that through science and technology. We can look at the deck lists of the players, and I can tell you, as they are playing, what their decks have. Now, I'm not seeing any Doomscars, but it does look like the Nideth is going to clinch the game here. All right, we are getting into round 3 of the Bigmits Block Constructed Invitational, and we are checking out, let me see here, Valter Ego versus Gideon MC3. All right, Valter Ego is on mono white aggro, and I believe Gideon is on Is It Dragon, so that's what we're going to be seeing here. We do see an Usher of the Fallen right out of the gate here, and I am just going to hide this text here. The splicing didn't quite work, so we just went with 1 player at a time. All right, we're getting into the action though. This game is already off to a fast start with Valter Ego having thrown down Shayla, Dean of Radiance on turn 2. Now that is the 1/1 Vigilance flyer that you can tap to give any creature that enters the battlefield this turn a +1/+1 counter. So we'll see if they opt to do that. Well, they can of course attack with Shayla and then tap it to do that ability. And then it does look like that's what they're going to do. On the other side, Gideon, they foretold a card, so it could be a Saw It Coming. I believe there are some of those in their list. But Valter Ego is light on lands here. They haven't drawn their 3rd land source, and they are going to be getting lapped soon by Gideon. Though, as we see here, Valter still has plenty of things that they can do. They have a handful of mostly 2-drops. They can't play their Spellbinder yet. But that is not the end of the world. Gideon does throw out a Saw It Coming to counter their Professor of Symbology, perhaps hoping to continue the land screw on Valter Ego, the mana screw. And it does happen, right? Gideon, though, getting to 4 mana. So we're going to see what they're going to deploy here. They run out Galazeth Prismari, so that is an interesting choice here. It's going to be a good blocker for what Valter currently has down. And if they want to crack their treasure token, they could even throw down some removal, something like a Frostbite, or they could tap it for 1 blue if they want to do that. Though I don't know that they're going to be running any single blue spells, perhaps, except maybe an Opt or something like that. But again, Valter's still not getting any help from their hand here. They just are getting Manuscript, but they're just going for it. They're just going for the kill here. And we're going to see what Gideon blocks. And they are going to block the Shieldmate, which is actually an interesting combination with the Shayla, right? Because it's going to make a token, and then they can tap to give both the Spirit and the token counters here. So Gideon down to 6. They do have now 6 mana available to them with the help of that treasure token. So they play Draconic Intervention, dealing 3 to everything, and boom, Valter's board is gone. They have foretold something else, and we see the advantage bar swing all the way across from Valter to Gideon. Valter, though, getting their 3rd land, so they are going to be able to throw down their Spellbinder if they so choose, or they could just try to go wide again, try to reestablish themselves with a Shayla and then an Usher, perhaps, or even just double Usher, followed by nothing. But okay, they are going to go for Spellbinder. Now, if the foretold card that Gideon has is an Epiphany, they're going to be in trouble because they're going to be able to get an extra turn, get a bunch of blockers. Spellbinder does find a Magma Opus in Gideon's hand, and they do get rid of that. Now, we have to think, though, that because Gideon didn't do anything this turn, that they probably don't have an Alrund's Epiphany in their foretold zone. It's probably a counterspell, probably a Saw It Coming, and it is, in fact, accurate. That's what happens. Then we see Valter running out an Usher of the Fallen and just passing the turn. I have to mention, I don't think they're going to attack. They're 3-1 into a 3-4 Galazeth Prismari, or as the fans, or as the cool kids call it, Galazeth Prismanfield, the player from, I want to say Seattle, but I could be totally totally wrong. Okay, Valter, though, finds a Resplendent Marshal. Now, that is not Marshall Sutcliffe from Lords of Limited. That is, in fact, a different card, different entity entirely. Now, this one, I believe, when it enters, you exile cards, or you can exile something from your graveyard and then put a counter, +1/+1 counter on every creature that shared a creature type with it. I believe that's what Resplendent Marshal does, and I think it's a 3/3 flyer. Though Valter still, they smells blood. Can smell the blood in the air, in the ice, I guess. But I guess I'm counting right. Gideon has 2 more turns that they have to get through, 2 more mana that they need to actually cast the Magma Opus in exile. And if they don't have another answer, it does look like Valter is just going to be able to swing out next turn, swing all, and then they're going to get 6 damage through, whether Gideon likes it or not. Gideon drawing another land source, but is that last card some action? Is it something that can save him from this impending horde of white weenies? So Valter, though, draws another land, and I think actually they don't run out Pris Marshal, Resplendent Marshal. They don't run out that just yet. They are going to just attack all, and they could double boast here, but we'll see if Gideon has an answer. And Valter is testing him. Okay, so it looks like he did. He had a Frostbite, so he is going to be able to snipe one of these Ushers. And Valter is going to then, like I said, double boast, getting more damage through. Now, what's it going to be from Gideon? Does he draw another land source? Can he resolve this exiled Magma Opus, or is he going to get attacked here with tokens? But Goldspan Dragon off the top. So it's going to make another treasure token. He's going to be able to swing in for 7 here, and the treasure is going to not cut it for Gideon, and he is going to concede with that Magma Opus still taunting him from exile, 1 mana away from being castable. Now we're going to see Valter sideboarding here. He's putting in some Semester's Ends, it looks like, ways to preserve his board from the Draconic Intervention that we saw was so devastating for his entire board. And what else is going to be happening here, if anything? We do see that there are 8 lessons in the sideboard here, so a lot of Valter's sideboard is in fact devoted to those lessons, and doesn't necessarily have things he's going to be swapping in and out of his main deck. But he is going to quickly submit that deck and be ready for round 3. Here we go. Gideon is ready. We are looking at these opening hands from our players, or rather just from Valter, I suppose. So Valter, I think they mulliganed, right? It looks like they mulliganed. Because they haven't accepted yet, or, I mean, obviously they have 7 cards in hand. Okay, so Gideon mulliganed, excuse me, and they were deciding which card to send back. Valter kept their hand of 7, and they have a Star People, a Shieldmate. They're probably deciding now, do I run out this Star People into what could be a Frostbite? And that is a perennial question, a question that aggro decks are always asking these days with such high quality 1 mana removal. And they do choose to just run out the Star People, and we see the stop. We see the stop, so that probably means that Gideon has the Frostbite. But Gideon now is choosing not to use it, assuming that they had it, which is interesting. Perhaps hoping just to get a more important, more impactful creature destroyed with their removal. So the Foretold card could be a Crush the Weak even too. That could be something that they may have sided in against this mono white list from Valter. Nevertheless, Valter is going to run out Besker's Shieldmate, saving the Clarion Spirit for down the road. Maybe next turn they can go Clarion Spirit and then Guiding Voice. Though we'll see if that is a Crush the Weak. This is going to be pretty rough for Valter. Going to lose his board, and because I believe Crush the Weak exiles creatures that would die from that damage, they wouldn't get the 1/1 token from, or the 1/1 token from their Shieldmate. Looking back at Valter, though, we do see that he's going to draw a Professor of Symbology. That is another good 2-drop, and it will get some lesson and learning happening. Could go grab an Inkling Summoning, get another flyer for good old Valter, or he could even just loot with it and get rid of one of these planes that are just kind of, to be honest, just rotting in his hand, or junking up his hand. I don't know that this deck needs more than 3 or 4 mana. Okay, but Gideon had a Prismari command ready and waiting to go, so he snipes the Shieldmate. Now, Valter has a question. Do you commit more to this board, or do you just wait out of fear for Crush the Weak, Draconic Intervention? He is going to run out the Clarion Spirit, and let's see if he Guiding Voices onto the Spirit. He will. He is going to do that, so if they do have that Frostbite, I guess it wouldn't matter, because Frostbite would deal 3 damage now that Gideon has 3 Snowlands. Valter, though, uses the Learn trigger to grab an Inkling Summoning. Gideon is throwing down Goldspan with his 5 mana. He does crack his treasure. Now we're going to see if Valter chooses to block here. I don't think he would. He has 20 life, which is plenty life, as they say. But it does give, that attack does give Gideon 2 mana from that treasure token, because they are going to be able to double in value when they crack, as long as that Goldspan Dragon is kicking around. Nevertheless, Gideon does, or the Valter does not block. Gideon gets in for 4. Now Valter is probably just going to crack back for 6 damage here, and he does. Gets my Gideon down to 12. Now Valter is committing more to this board. He is running out the Professor, doing some learning. Now he gets reduced to memory. Very interesting. So that would exile a creature and then give its owner, or controller, a 3/2 Spirit. Now that would, of course, if you targeted your Goldspan or a Goldspan, it would get another treasure token because you're targeting it with a spell. That's a risky maneuver to use it offensively, but it's very possible that Valter might be setting up a defensive use, might be planning to target one of his own permanents with reduced to memory. But Gideon on the other side of the table here throws down an Alrund's Epiphany. That was the Foretold card that had gone into play on turn 2. So that means Valter gets another turn. They have a total of 8 mana available to them, and 8 mana, that's a conspicuous amount of mana these days. In Standard, that means they could throw out a Magma Opus and just really take control of this game. Valter is already only at 8 life. He does draw a Basil's Haven, though, so that is something that they can do to get more damage, get more board presence here as they stare down these birds and this dragon from Gideon. The birds are going to block a Spirit and a 2/1 Professor Symbology. Gideon, though, eyeing Valter's board, deciding perhaps a removal spell. Okay, no, he does do Magma Opus. As I was saying, the conspicuous amount of mana is in fact relevant, and it is just enough to resolve that spell. Interesting that Gideon let Valter go to attacks, though perhaps hoping to make an aggressive attack and then pick off the things that got through while getting in the good block there. Valter looking to be in a tough spot. They run out their Faceless Haven. They don't even run out the Inkling Summoning. It's not going to be necessarily getting in where Goldspan is already online. Opponent has 5 cards in hand, so they could easily have like a Galazeth Prismari waiting to go here as a follow-up. But Valter does run it out. They do run out the 2/1 Inkling Summoning, which promptly gets Frostbitten. And we then see Gideon go in for lethal. So we are going to be going to game 3 here of Mono White versus Izzet Dragons in the Bigmits Block Constructed Tournament. All right, so game number 3. Gideon is on the play, or sorry, Valter is on the play. Totally mangling that, but Valter has a nice curve. Can start with an Usher, can go into a Beskar Shieldmate, and then maybe Foretell Glorious Protector. Gideon took another mulligan, so they have 7 cards in hand now. They run out a Snarl. They don't reveal anything to make it come into play untapped, meaning that Gideon probably doesn't have a Frostbite. Otherwise, I have to imagine that they would have let that come into play untapped and then probably killed the Usher or killed whatever 2-drop Valter was to play. Now, Valter here is choosing to boast with the Usher instead of running out the Shieldmate, so he does get a 1/1 token here, another Soldier token to help attack Gideon with. Valter back at it, doing the same thing he did last turn, making another token, and he is going to run out the other Usher. So this does set up a devastating Crush the Weak, though, and we'll see if that is what Gideon has. They foretell something else, and they do Crush the Weak, dealing 2 damage to everything on Valter's side. It was very unfortunate that that happened that turn. If Valter had some more restraint, maybe we could have gotten the Glorious Protector to save his board, but instead he just goes Clarion Spirit into Shieldmate, and has 5 more power on the board already, so already rebuilding very quickly. Gideon missing a land drop, it seems, so they are stuck on 3 lands. They let the Star People resolve, and it looks like Valter's just going to attack here, swing for 5, and see if Gideon has any action, any business going on. Gideon. Well, I guess Valter is still holding up here, so he passes. And he plays Glorious Protector. And they're going to exile some creatures, it looks like, to save the board. So, let's see. Interesting play to do this turn, to do it right now. I guess the could be that Valter determined that Gideon didn't have any counterspells, right? He was able to resolve the Star People immediately. And so he knew that he could get through this turn with that. So Glorious Protector, though, still deciding if he wants to, in fact, exile any of his creatures, or if he just wants to let it reside on the battlefield, let it just enter, and nothing happen. Interesting choice. Interesting choice. Okay, Gideon still, or rather Valter, making up his mind. So they choose not to actually use the... Oh, no. Oh, no, Valter, that is painful. Gideon, though, is still stuck on 3 mana, and with the finding of an additional flyer, Gideon's looking like they're in some trouble. Okay, but Gideon finds another land. They get to play Galazeth Prismari. Valter doesn't have anything, just a plains. And this Prismari is a 3/4, and as we can see, Spellbinder is a 3/1, and Protector is a 3/4. So Valter really doesn't have great attacks here, and he knows that we have or in fact, there are 2 Goldspan Dragons coming down the pipeline right quick. In fact, next turn, presumably, unless something terrible happens. So an unfortunate timing of the Glorious Protector play, but happens to the best of us. We'll see. Can Valter recover? Thinking, maybe rage quitting or distracted. They go to attacks. Send the Glorious Protector. Try to bait a trick, I guess. Gideon isn't buying it. They block. And so that looks like it's going to be the end of Valter's turn. Valter trying to get tricky, perhaps, with some holding full control to really sell that trick angle. Though, this is looking grim. Okay, they throw out the Goldspan. We'll see if they attack here with both or just the Goldspan. Gideon deciding to attack with just the 4/4 Goldspan Dragon. Okay. Semester's End. That is an interesting one. That is an interesting one. Could be a surprise, spicy little trick there if end of turn, after maybe Gideon attacks with 2 dragons, right? They at semester's end. So the interesting thing here is that when they attack with both gold spans, if the foretold card with Gideon, or that Gideon has, that's not exiled, that one remaining foretold card, if it is Alrund's Epiphany, they are going to be able to get they are going to be able to cast Alrund's Epiphany and then take extra turns and then win the game. Valter opting to semester's end before the extra mana comes through for the gold span dragons, and it does look like that card that I was mentioning, that one last foretold card, it is actually Alrund's Epiphany, and Gideon uses all that mana to resolve it. Now Valter does get back his creatures here with the semester's end. So Glorious Protector's back, Elite Spellbinder's back. Elite Spellbinders get the peek at the hand, get rid of the Draconic Intervention, but top deck Frostbite, I think that's going to be game. Valter can block a dragon, but the Horde of Flyers does defeat him, and so Valter loses, and Gideon takes round 3 of the Bigmits block constructed tournament. So that'll be it for round 3 and for the coverage of the event. Now, I hope if you were watching, I hope you enjoyed watching it. And if you are playing, I hope you enjoyed playing in it. And I will see you again next time, hopefully, for a Strixhaven Forgotten Realms event.